Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. What a day. What a club. They just do this to us, don't they? What a long day. It started so early for all of us that headed up there, didn't it, to Molineux. It's just not worth it. It just wasn't worth it. I always feel even more kind of sorry for you guys who make that trip because you have to pay to do it. It's my job. It's my job. And yes, I have the additional pain afterwards of having to write about it and talk about it and all that ridiculous stuff that we had to see today. But, you guys paid to go and see that. And it was like, I think it was 3,010, the allocation today. I'm not sure if all of that was taken up, but it was a big old contingent of Spurs fans opposite me in the stand across. So it must have been up there. And fair play for making the journey to watch that just garbage. Tom Jones claims it's not unusual, but Ange Postecoglou would beg to differ when it comes to Tottenham Hotspur. The word unusual. I heard that a lot after this match from a certain Australian gentleman. And it was an unusual word for Postecoglou to choose to describe the individual errors that we saw today. Individual mistakes today, still today. You might be watching this in the morning. You probably will. Haven't decided yet whether it's just going to go out late at night, so just get it out there, or whether it goes up early in the morning. Either way, the individual errors that Spurs treated us to, I don't think they treated us to, treated the Wolves fans to, gifted them 4 goals, 3 points, and Spurs are hovering ever closer to that 17th place sitting above the drop zone, which is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's absolutely not where Tottenham Hotspur should be. It's going into my Sean Connery impression there. If we're going to unusual, it's unusual to see Tottenham that low in the table. And they are fortunate that it would take an absolute miracle. And this is Tottenham, so you can never entirely rule it out, but it would take a miracle for Ipswich to, what they have to claim, 16 points from 18 available to catch Spurs in these final 6 matches. It's unusual, I guess, that Spurs have lost 17 matches now in the Premier League this season. That's, again, disgusting, disgraceful, ridiculous. Should not be the case. If you want to have any context there, across, let's say, the 3 peak seasons of Pochettino time, 2015, 2018, Spurs only fell to 16 defeats across that 3 seasons. And they've lost more than that in 1 season. It is disgusting. What else is unusual? It's unusual, I guess, that Daniel Levy has not yet, as of recording this, I should state, because you never know what happens in the world of Tottenham Hotspur, but as of this moment has not resorted yet to his go-to move of removing the manager, I guess, to divert people's attention from the dark clouds that always seem to kind of hover over Tottenham Hotspur. They just never seem to clear. And if they do, it's very briefly. And then we're all plunged back into darkness and despair again. It's regardless of who's in the dugout. Postecoglou will be well aware that his predecessors in this Tottenham Hotspur head coach, managerial job, whatever you want to call it, were pointed towards that exit door for far, far less than we have been given in this miserable Premier League season that's been served up under his stewardship. You can look at various reasons and whatever and all of that, but ultimately it comes down to him. The buck stops at him. It's his Tottenham Hotspur, and they are absolutely dreadful in the Premier League. They just are. A couple of his predecessors were 4th in the table when they got rid of, rather than 15th, which Spurs currently are. And another one, but we know because he keeps reminding us, was a few days away from a cup final. All of them, Nuno included, were in a better position in recent years than Postecoglou is. So, that is unusual. That's another thing we can use unusual for. There was a lot of sympathy and understanding for Postecoglou from a lot of people in football, I think, to a degree. And certainly in and around the club, midway through the season, for the kind of what was pretty much an unprecedented injury crisis. It was crazy, it was ridiculous, it just got worse every week. But those days are gone. They're behind us. That sympathy and understanding has kind of run out for a lot of people. He's got a full squad pretty much now, barring one or two players, and not a lot's changed, especially when it comes to the results mainly. They're just still not good enough. Everything that's kind of been promised under Postecoglou really has failed to materialise in any kind of lasting degree. And look, I know this is a complete rebuild and they're painful affairs, and the Postecoglou rebuild has been a huge thing. The post-Kane era is a huge and difficult thing, both on and off the field. Got Spurs' teenager transfer policy, the reducing of wages that brings, and essentially just kind of almost starting again in a lot of respects. Yet there needs to be more green shoots of recovery than we're seeing. They just do. There just does. The results are just dreadful, regardless of everything that's gone on. That team, with the players in it, regardless of what we want to keep saying about these players, whether we think they're good enough, they're not a team that should be in 15th in the table, and that's not good enough. But, you had Vicario and you had captain for the day, Christian Romero, the two probably the biggest calamity culprits on the day. James Maddison, I'd say first half, I actually felt he was probably Spurs' best player. He tried to make things happen. Second half, barely knew he was playing, but he tried to make some kind of impact on the game. And I do feel, you've heard me kind of have gripes about this before, who talks after matches. And I know there's an element of, who decides this, whether it's the club or someone or whatever it is. But to have a 19-year-old and Matisse Tell chosen to speak after this kind of defeat on the club's channels, and look, Romero doesn't do post-match interviews for Spurs because regardless of what you think about it, 4 years in, he still doesn't really know enough English to do so. I'm not saying if I lived 4 years in another country, I'd be able to do post-match interviews myself, but still, he's kind of a leader that can't really address the fans, other than in Instagram posts and things like that, which presumably he runs through a translator or someone else does them for him. But I'd imagine probably actually Spurs are quite delighted that he can't do post-match interviews, because we've seen when he does the odd one for the Argentinian media, there's normally a few shots fired, or even on his social media posts. We've seen kind of little shots fired at the medical department. We've seen him kind of talk about the hierarchy before. We've seen all these various things. So maybe they're like, whew, Cootie still can't speak perfect English. Great stuff. But it's a shame that the fans can't hear this leader, this World Cup winner within the team, come out and talk about mistakes that he made. And he made a big one today. It's very frustrating. Again, maybe it's just because of my job, but communication, it's one of my kind of bugbears, whether it be at the top of Tottenham Hotspur or whether it be about kind of just anything to do with communication at that club, I guess. But yeah, errors are not unusual at Tottenham Hotspur. They're not. It was the wrong word to use completely. I can only assume he was trying to defend the players, Postecoglou, and two who have been kind of his, I guess, bigger supporters in the group as well, Vicario and Romero. But at times, both of them look like players making their debuts. They look nervous. They look shaky. Look, go over the goals very quickly. First goal, just over a minute in, the calamity began. Vicario only half punches this free kick away. And this is a awareness, concentration, the way they're set up, whatever you want to look at it. Two Wolves players completely free just inside the Spurs box. So he punches it, a bad punch, punches it straight to one of them. Happens to be Ryan Aït-Nouri. All the time in the world to hit this bouncing shot back past him into the net. And what became a bit of a theme of this game and this season, really, Spurs managed to get a little bit of a foothold in the game. Yves Bissouma, who was otherwise pretty dreadful, had a really nice, powerful shot from outside the box, which Sarr pushes away. Not Spurs Sarr, Wolves Sarr. Brennan Johnson had an effort, I think he put over, if I remember correctly. And Spurs just generally looked like they were starting to take control of possession, at least. However, doesn't matter. If you're going to get a foothold and then shoot yourself in one of your feet, doesn't matter. Calamity goal number 2 arrives. Oh my goodness, just thinking about them, it's just mad. This one in particular was an absolute shocker. So a Wolves cross come in. I can't remember who hit the cross in, but Brennan Johnson gets a foot to it, deflects it up in the air, and everyone, including defenders, is just going, "Oh, that's pretty." And they just watch it bounce in the box. Again, 2 Wolves players in there. One of them, Marshall Manetzi, he manages to kind of head it on. Romero and Davies are just watching this thing, thinking, we should probably be back over there, shouldn't we? Yeah, go on then. And ball bounces, Manetzi gets a little touch on it, not much. And I'd almost say again, a bit like the first effort with the punch, why doesn't Vicario try and catch it? You've got 2 hands, hold it. I know this is a bit of a continental thing maybe, but instead he tries to push it away without having any radar of what's around him, pushes it into Jed Spence, and you can just see the moment Jed Spence realises this is going to bounce off me and go in, and I'm not going to be able to stop it. And it is just, it was embarrassing. And I watched down at in the dugout, you could see Postecoglou went into the dugout, and Matt Wells, his assistant, had like a dugout monitor, and they watched the goal back, and Postecoglou's just watching it like, as if saying, what the hell is that? And then he turns away and just starts going grumbling and being frustrated. And it is, it's just, hold the ball. There's no need for him in that moment, Vicario, to push that away. He could easily have claimed that in the air. Easily. And like I said, probably the punch for the first one as well. So yeah, Vicario as one of your leaders, the guy that's talking in I saw him in the second half. He's like passionately talking into the huddle as they come out for the second half and they're about to start. And you kind of think, what's he saying? Is he just saying, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, that was dreadful, I'm sorry?